Hello, John Jursick here with the Ohio Department of Transportation in the Office of CADD Mapping Services, and this video is going to go over a VBA called the GIS Labeler. And this VBA can be used to basically create and place updatable labels. And the update means it's going to be getting the values of the label from either like a shapefile or a XFM feature. So this is geared towards GIS, hence the name GIS Labeler, to help you label some of your GIS data. So in the end, you'll be able to get something like this, and this is a label that can be updated. So this VBA came from a project we were working on with aviation to help them create their maps, and they deal a lot with XFM and shapefiles. So that's where this came from, but we decided to release it so anyone can use it. So you might find this useful, you might not have a need for it. But to launch it, if you come to ODOT tab, come to GIS mapping, and then the last one, GIS Labeler. Okay. So first thing everyone knows, this question mark opens up the help doc, which I will be updating because the video will be here since you're watching it, so I don't need to say video coming soon. So this should be able to answer your questions as well if you still have any questions after watching this video. So first thing that it does when you launch this application is it actually is going to search through your whole active model and find any shapefiles or XFM feature schema set. So if you might not be aware of Bentley map stuff, but I do have Bentley map activated in this current file, and I did set up an XFM feature for a shape, which is what this is over here, pavement area, and we should see that in the pull down. So it found the pavement area in my file. So feature, this is Bentley map features, what that's referencing to. You don't actually have to have Bentley map running for this VBA to work. It will work off of shapefile references as well. So, but I'm going to show it for the XFM features. So I'll just select this pavement area, and then when I select that, it's going to basically read all the property or attributes for that feature. So there's all the different properties for this feature. And if I hit this analyze button, all these shapes right here are the features. So here's the feature pavement area so this is a given element shape, and there's all the different properties which you will see that matches up in this pull down. So basically I want to build my label for the values that I would want in my label. So say I want, I don't know, branch ID. So I'd select the property, hit the add button, and then you see here down here where it says label, it added this branch ID with the brackets around it. Now that is what the VBA is using to know that inside this label this is a property value, or the name of a property, not the actual value but the name. This will get replaced with the value for the given element at time of placement. And then you can also add string values. So if you wanted to add like a space, now since I'm using these brackets as in the syntax, you cannot actually add a bracket. So if you actually try to key in a bracket, you'll get that little noise that says, hey, you can't do that. So it's restricting you, so you can't use that character. But typically you'd want a space between your words in your label, so I'll hit a space and then I'll hit add, and you can't really tell it's adding a space, but it is. Maybe I do section ID now, and I'll hit add, and then space, and I'll hit add, and then maybe I want to do like PCI, and then I'll close that, something like that. So now editing the label is very primitive right now. If you mess up, you just have to clear it. And so to clear it, if you hit the actual word label, you see there's a little pop-up that says click to clear label. If you click that, it will clear and then you can restart making your label. So that's the most editing I give you in this VBA. Maybe in the future I update it, but I think that gets the job done for now. So another option you have is to read in an existing label. So, if I clear that out, I can hit this read label, and I'll go and I already placed this label earlier, so if I select it, so I clicked on it to select it, and now it's telling me to data point to read label into app, or right click to reset. So I will data point, and then it filled in that label again. That should match this. Okay, so that's basically setting up your label. Now to actually place it, you have to fill out one more thing before you place it, and it says property ID. So property and attributes can pretty much be interchanged, but when you place this label, you want it to be updatable. So you'll be able to update all your labels in a file at one time rather than having to go through and fix them all, right? So the way I update them is I don't actually link it to the actual element, because you could update your shapefile and it would be a different element then, right? So I do not link the labels directly to the individual elements. What I do is I actually will store the property ID with the label, and then when you go to update, it searches the file to find that ID, which then knows, okay, this is the element that contains that property or attribute data that I need to update this given label. I think it's a better approach than directly linking to it, because again, you can have different elements from different shapefiles, but it's the same ID, just you've updated it or something like that. So everything, you should always have a unique ID. So this is important that you have a unique property or ID field for your data, either whether it be XFM or shapefile, which you typically always do have like an auto number or something that makes it unique. Because if it's not unique, then you have a chance of it finding the wrong element, which would then grab the wrong data to update the label. So it is important that you do make sure you choose an ID or property or attribute that is your ID for your data set. So for this pavement area feature, the unique ID is the ID that is unique to this data set or schema. So now I'm just going to place a label. So I'm going to read what it says down the bottom corner. So I'm in the place label tool, and I want to select an element. So this would be the element that you want to label. So I'll just select this one, this shape. So it highlights it, and then now it says accept or reject selection. So I will data point to accept my selection, and now it moves me into the next part of this tool. It says identify location for start of callout. So the start of callout is this point down here. So where do you want that point to be? So maybe I want it to be right here. Once I move, now you will see the label actually float on your cursor. And so you also notice that once I get to the vertical point and cross over, it automatically flips the label for you, which is pretty sweet. And it also works if you're in a rotated view as well. It will know how to flip in a rotated view, which took a decent amount of programming, but I think you guys will find that highly useful. So you'll see that for my label that I have up here, those label values got switched out with the actual values for those given properties in that label. So I will just one more data point to pick the final location of my label, and it'll draw it in there. Okay. So now we have a label, and this box will change size, based on the length of the label you create. So that's most of the top. This is all the top part here that I went over. Now to update label, here are your update options. You have 3 buttons. You can update all the labels in your file, update by selecting the individual label one at a time that you want, or you can move the label. So you'll see that this label is comprised of a polygon and a text file. Okay. And if you want to move the start of the callout point, if you just select the shape, you can just move that vertex wherever you want. But if you want to move this up here, well, since it's 2 different elements, obviously it gets a little bit harder, and you want to keep your callout point the same spot. So I put this move label button. So click the move label button, which says identify an editable label. So it's got to be something placed from this VBA, and it'll know that. So once I select my element, you'll see that it snaps to it, and now it starts floating on my cursor again, and now I can move it to wherever I want. Okay, so that's the move label button. So now the update by selection, I didn't update any of the data, so nothing's going to change, but if I click this, the way this button works is you select the label you want to update. So if I want to update this label, I'll click on it and it says, okay, accept or reject your selection. So if I data point, I'll accept my selection, and it'll go through and update that label. Obviously nothing changed because the actual property or attribute values didn't change, but if it did, then it would change these values, which is pretty handy, so you don't actually have to replace it. So if you do have a rotated view and you place these before you rotated them, and when you hit update by selection or update all, it will fix all the rotation for you, which is pretty cool. The update all button will go through and update everything. So it just updated everything, but again, nothing changed. So you guys are just going to take my word for it that it actually will update. So the last thing I want to talk about is how exactly is this label getting updated when it's not tied to this element, right? How is it finding that data again? So I actually put a tag there behind the scenes. So if I edit tags and I click on this, you're going to see there's a tag set for this VBA, and there's 3 values or tags inside this tag set. There's the property ID, which is what this is right here. The label syntax, which is this right here. And then the property ID value, which would be the value of the ID that you selected here for the given element. So when you hit update by selection or update all, it loops through, it finds these labels, and then for each label, it's looking at this tag. It says, okay, this is the property that I need to use to find this unique value. And it will search through all the elements, and it will find, this property or attribute and look to see if its value matches this value. And so once it matches, it now knows, okay, I found the element that I need to grab the data from, right? And the data would be the branch ID, the section ID, and the PCI values for that given element. And so it uses a label syntax to know, what values it needs to grab. It finds those values and then updates that label. And then after it updates the label text, it then updates the polygon to be the right boundary. And if you're rotated, it will fix all that up for you all nicely. These are editable, so you could edit these, but I really caution you on editing the syntax, because over here, I controlled you so you couldn't, mess with these brackets, because then it could cause the code to crash. So if you mess with your label syntax, You know, I have no guarantee that code will run the way it should. I gave you the ability because I thought it would be a nice thing to do to make you allow you to easily update it. But just make sure that for every open bracket you have a closed bracket, and the actual name of the property is spelled correctly and whatnot. You know, I just showed you using the XFM features, but if you have a shapefile, it works the same way. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. But until next time.